You can tell I'm getting lazier with the programmer error as we go on. Hello, all the crazy people out there. My name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games. Welcome back to making a 3D Zelda-like in GameMaker. Today, I'm actually going to do the slow time spell thing that I said I was going to do last time and then forgot. Keep doing that, I'm noticing. Last time, I implemented a like a bloomable flower, which you can cast a spell on, and you can use that to create a platform to climb up and do whatever. You know, typical video game fare. And today, this is probably going to be the last spell-related mechanic that I add, at least for a little while, before I move on to some other things. We are going to deal with some slow time objects, so we'll be able to cast a spell on this very primitive hourglass that I just whipped together out of two cones inverted and pointing at each other. And while this is active, it'll like have an alternate model when it's active so that you can tell that it's active. The player will be able to move at regular speed, but other things, other things in the game, moving objects, enemies, that sort of thing, those will move at, let's say, half speed or reduced speed anyway. So, let's see. I should probably export this to the game files because we'll need that in the game. As before, I have also taken the very primitive hourglass and thrown it in the Unity project, and when I save this Unity scene, it will write out a little bit of data telling us that we have an hourglass object. I've been calling it that. There's really no reason for it to be something like that, but it just seemed like an easy object to think about. So anyway. As with before, I'm going to need a, let's see, I'm going to need to create a object representing the spell type so that we can just put together some data relating to said spell. I'm going to need a spell symbol. Let's call it symbol time. And for this one, I don't have anything ready to go that I can like load in from a file. So let's just MS Paint it real quick. Let's just give this a fill color so that it's not a transparent outline, because that'll make it a little hard to see. Otherwise, we've got ourselves an hourglass symbol. You should be in the texture group already. Good. We can create an object for the time spell. So MS Painty. There should also be a spell type, should already be a spell type for slow time, I think, because I tossed in a few spell ideas earlier. And I will need, let's clone the flower, an hourglass object. So you are responsive to the time spell. And we can keep the same active, inactive states that the flower have. We can even have the timing mechanism that the flower does. I will, however, need to say that hourglass and hourglass underscore active are going to be the names of the meshes that we're going with here. So right now, if I were to just cast a spell at you, all that should happen is going to be that nothing happens because did I not save the thing? Oh, this crashed and I didn't notice it. In essence, this system doesn't work very well if a 3D object doesn't actually have a texture set to it. So, oops. Anyway, let me try compiling that level again, and let me try running it from GameMaker again. And all right, so now we've got ourselves a fancy hourglass. We've got some collision. I like it. We do not have the time spell because in pretty much every single one of these videos in which I add a new spell, I forget that I have to also unlock it for myself. because that's not automatically done. It would be nice to have a debug mode of sorts where I can... Alright, this isn't working. It would be nice to have a debug mode of sorts where I can like automatically have all spells. Do I have to specifically add a collision shape for the spell target? I don't think I did. Maybe I did. Alright. Alright, I thought that if you don't have a spell target defined, it would just automatically use the regular shapes collision shape for the spell target, but apparently I never actually wrote any code to do that. Alright, let's try that again. Let's re-export that 3D data, and now can I wave my wand at the hourglass and have a spell target pop up? I cannot. That's so much fun. Why is that not happening? Oh, you know what? I know what. The other thing I didn't do is I didn't write any code to load any of this from the file. These things don't have any special properties the way that things like bounce pads or treasure chests do. Alright. Let us go and actually load this from a file. Alright, so now we've got an hourglass. That actually doesn't look as awful as I thought it would. And we can see that it goes into the active state. In about 10 seconds or so, that ring will disappear and we'll go back into the inactive state. So we will... there we go. That's fun. So I've mentioned this a few times, the way that I am, for example, multiplying all of my time steps by the macro known as dt. So this is just a, currently this is just a macro that turns like seconds into frames, whatever the game's target frame rate is. There's no reason it has to be this simple expression. I could, for example... there's also no reason that I have to only have one of these. I could, for example, have when one of those time crystals is active, a separate multiplier on this to multiply like this whole thing by, say, 0.5, 1/4, or whatever. And I think that'll work out nicely. I could also have a second macro that does largely the same thing, but let's call it, for example, PDT for the player. And this is going to be independent of any slow time effects, so the player won't be slowed down when they cast a spell in the time crystal, which you would hope is, you know, doing that won't screw you over as well as everyone else, right? But before I get to that, I think I'm going to want to create a little system to handle that time scale. I can do that by, say, in obj_game. There's actually not a lot of like global settings here, which is probably good, but I need to put them somewhere. I could also like, I don't have to have a global setting for like the current time scale or anything like that. I could, inside the DT macro, include a check for like if any of the currently active hourglasses are active, then it's a certain value. But I don't want to do that because that's worse than just having a global variable. We can set that to 1. How do I want to... I guess I can create an array of active timer objects. Like this, and then I can have an add or a deactivate. We can have an activate and a deactivate timer like that. I want array get index, don't I? The value that we're looking for is going to be timer. And if the timer that you're deactivating is in the list of active timer objects, then you can just delete it. And let's see, when you activate a timer, say set the time scale to 0.5, and when you deactivate a timer, if there are no active timers left, actually, I think, is there an array empty? There is not. All right. Array length it is then. If that equals 0, you can set the time scale back to 1. And in the regular DT macro and the delta time macro, we can multiply all this by obj game.timescale. And okay, actually, wait. Before we do that, I actually need to call that code. So when the hourglass goes into the inactive state, or rather, it might make sense to more use the leave alternative to enter for this. And activate timer ourselves. When we leave, we can deactivate timer ourselves. And since the player is currently just using the general DT, the general delta time, when I do this, I should move around slowly. Boing. And we're definitely moving a lot slower. If I want to really make it obvious, we could have everything move at like 10% speed, and then this might mess up like me springing into the air, which is not really great, but yeah. All right, that's because I still haven't gotten around to properly like delta timing the falling motion. Let's see what a quarter feels like. I'm not moving fast enough. I'm not jumping hard enough to actually spring into the air when I land on one of these. I've really got to do that one way or the other. Let's see. I've added an active timer system. This should be fun when it comes to things like, I don't know, enemies or whatever. Should I... If I go back to create a 3D moving object, obj moving, remind me, how does this work? We've got our motion vector. I can set a motion vector. If I just stick one of these in the room, I should be able to watch as I cast the spell on that timer thing. Where is it, by the way? I don't know where it is. Where did I instantiate that? That's a good question. But I should be able to watch as its speed changes. Okay, so you're like going that way. So if I cast that spell on you, you're really gonna slow down. And if I was able to move at my regular speed, it would be quite a bit easier to, jump on that as it's moving around. So I think that proves that point. However, I do need to go into everything player related, and I need to change all the players' delta time values, and probably the players' like spell delta time values too, so that oh, that's another thing. Alt select doesn't work currently in the GameMaker beta I'm using. You know what? I can control H. Can I not control H? GameMaker, help. There we go. And replace all instances of DT with the player at local time. And is there anything else in any of the, for example, the other events? I don't think there is. I think all of the motion is handled in the player state update. Pretty sure that's everything. Yeah, okay, so this just, this moves to a position. This isn't, like the player's velocity and everything is calculated in the player update state. So now, when I cast a slow spell on one of these things, I should be able to, still move around at, nice, to move around at my regular speed. Everything else, however, is moving rather slowly. If it ever arrives through the side of the wall. Alright, you know what? This is just a test object anyway. So, not gonna get too bent out of shape over that. That exact object is never gonna appear in the game with that exact, like, turnaround code. Most likely, if I, or really when I get to implementing moving objects in the game, I'll have a timing system that's like, instead of after X seconds turnaround, like when it'll be more like once you reach a certain waypoint turnaround, and however long it takes you to get to that waypoint is how long it takes. It's not going to be based on like the current time or anything such like that. All right, that's the only place I'm using current time. Oh, also in Draw Sprite Billboard, which is fine, I guess, because that's just a visual thing. All right, let's see. So, I have to say, when I first thought of doing this, I really expected this to be more involved, but once I actually sat down and thought about it, there weren't that many things that I really had to change here. I shouldn't really have to ever mess with this again, aside from visual effects, which I'm sure there's going to be some kind of visual effect. So let's check off those. I think I actually got done with that faster than Bloom spells. There were a few weird bits of me screwing around that made Bloom spells take longer than they had to. The only spell left that I have not implemented that I want to yet is a Mind Read spell, and that is currently being blocked by, like, the lack of NPCs. In fact, can I add, like, a blocking, I know I can in Hack and Plan, but I don't know if I can in Codecks here. But yeah, NPCs, that Mind Read depends on these guys existing. So, that'll have to wait. Next time, I think what I will do is I will record like the same way that I had like a basic gameplay milestone, and that kind of thing. I think it was like episode 20. I'll have the same thing for Magic. I'll just record a video talking about what I think about the implementation of the Magic system so far before moving on to game state and inventory. This should not take long at all. Most of these are just variables. Things like a basic quest system, which doesn't have to be as elaborate as like the Fallout quest system or anything like that. Any quest system that you would see in a major RPG. It just needs to be like a log of things that you have to do. But most of everything else here, objects that are contained in a treasure chest or a currency stat or things like that, is just going to be a variable that I have to attach to the game state. Might not be a bad idea to think about saving and loading the game state too, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Beyond that, other interactions, originally I had a lot more of the things that were in Magic Gameplay, the Magic Gameplay deck, in the other interactions deck, and I decided to move them up a little bit because I thought it would make more sense to deal with them together, but there's still a few other things. Pressure plates on the floor that activate when you do things is a popular option. I'm sure I'll think of others between now and when I get there. But yeah, my name is Michael. I like Wizards and Dragons and making games. If you want to see the code for this project, look for the GitHub repository down in the video description. The 0.32 release will be what I get done today. I try to post about 2 game dev videos a week. One, let's make a game like this, and one tutorial. I like to talk about the weird 3D things you can do in GameMaker, so if any of that appeals to you, feel free to subscribe. I have a Patreon, so if you want to contribute to the channel, links to that can be found in all the usual places. Otherwise, I hope you all found that interesting. and I will see you all later. Special thanks to Zenjamin, Vitro V, Squarecrow, Syndra Larson, Manta Ray, GameMaker, Edward Holt, and DJ Gibbles for supporting these videos. If you want to contribute to the channel, head on over to the Patreon page down in the video description to join the fun.